Okay, and the first thing I want you to know, which is very, very important so you don't get frustrated, is there is a difference between Power BI as well as Power BI desktop version. Many of you, when you're first looking for Power BI download, you will end up actually going into like the 365 online version, which requires a subscription and you have to pay money. And not only that, you also need to have a company email or you must be a student with a school email. A lot of us, we don't have that. We're just using it as personal individuals. Maybe we want to practice. Maybe we are doing our own projects or perhaps making videos and stuff. In that case, what I want you to do is actually go ahead and search Power BI desktop. You can search it for Mac, for Windows. This is a Windows PC. So I'm just going to go over here to like a Microsoft. You make sure it's like a Microsoft link. Don't download dubious ones. So click Microsoft here. And you can see, you can immediately download Power BI Desktop. They have certain system requirements, certain memory space. They have system requirements here. If you want to go for a Mac, you can search for the Mac option. I personally am using a Windows. I download the x64 exe, but I think more or less it's the same thing. As you can see, the file size is more or less the same. Probably maybe it's like the size or quality of the output. I'm not exactly sure in terms of the tech specifications. Well, the first question some of you might be asking is Power BI Desktop, and now let's go over here into like this screen here, which is like the home page. Is Power BI Desktop any worse than the online 365 one? The only like key difference that will irritate you a little bit is you aren't able to share your spreadsheet, so like people can go in and click on all the charts that you can see later on that you create. This is more like for own personal use. If not, you have to share the entire file that you've been working on with other people. That's also why we are unable to like share the documents easily so you guys can play around, because you have to pay a lot of money to or be attached to like a company to subscribe to the live service that people can just like hop on, click around your stuff and get out. If you are in a company, your company might have already subscribed for it, so do check out and ask your teams respectively. But now let me just share with you, after you have downloaded it and you are now ready to, for example, start importing data, and I'll teach you some quick tricks. You can find this here in the import. You can import from many different sources, and what I want you to do here is you can go, let me just expand this and I'll pin it up here. As you can see, when you first start, there's nothing else here. You don't bother clicking out of this. The first thing you need to do is get your data. So there are many ways you can get data, and you have to be very specific. For most of us, I think it will be either through an Excel workbook or a CSV, but if some of you like using company related stuff, it might be an SQL server, or it might be some other query that you are looking at. So just understand your data source. For me, I'm going to be importing a CSV file today, and I'll go ahead and click this like text CSV. If you're using an Excel workbook that is already formatted, go ahead and click Excel workbook. I will show you formatting it. Okay, so once you have actually like downloaded the data, this CSV file that we have, what I am going to do, as you can see here, is this data is totally unformatted. It makes absolutely no sense here of all these different stuff. So what I'm going to do, I am wanting to switch to, for example, a delimiter. I just want to make sure that nothing happens. So let me just put like semicolon delimiter. As you can see, then the information will be slightly different. It seems that it's like a bit uneven. So I'm just going to like customize until I get the what I'm looking for. As you can see, it depends on your raw data file what it's like. For here, it's separated by commas in the file. So what I have here is now a very nicely formatted one. It's still not perfect because the first few rows makes no sense. As you can see, it's like column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can edit this later on or in this screen here. For the sake of this video, I'm just going to format the data first before porting it in. But you can really do it like port it first and then edit it later on. Both works fine. So once I click that, the transform data, you will enter this Power Query Editor here. And in this part, what we are going to do is I'm going to get rid of blank cells. For example, the first 3 here are like totally not needed, right? I actually want this row 4 to be in the first section, so it takes up the header. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove rows in the ribbon here, and I'm going to remove the top rows. Because there are 3 rows that I want to remove, I'm just simply removing the top 3 here. And what I'll then do is I want this to become the column header. The first row should be the column header now. And you can see in this ribbon here under the transform section, use first row as headers. And that's what I'm going to do. And now we have a much better data. It's not perfect. We might not be able to really fully utilize a lot of things, but at least it's now readable data. We are able to like get on with it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just click this on top. If you go all the way to the top left in the ribbon, you have this close and apply button. I'm just going to close and apply. Now the data is going to port into your source. So as you can see, it's churning. It takes a while to load. But once it loads finish, you're still going to get this blank screen. But something that you notice now is there's this data section on the right here that appears. You have the different things that you have. Okay, now that we have our data being imported, the next step that we want to do is start to build some charts. That's the whole point of this software. What we want to do is actually have some visualization on here. So I have here game data that we have like attack, defense, HP. Most of the games have the same thing. Light cones is like the weapons. I'm trying to compare the weapons and I'm going to be using this as an example so we can actually form some visuals for ourselves. In this section here, I'm going to show you some simple charts that we can use. There are many different ones that we can use. But let's start off first, of course, with a very basic one, like just a simple column chart over here. Don't worry about like, if you select the chart, you're wondering, can you switch later on? You can easily switch. I'll show you that in a bit. For now, we're just using this custom colored chart. If you can't find this visualization tab, it's probably because it's minimized. Go ahead and press this double arrow to expand. You can see it here. And we are building our visuals with this first section here under the build visuals with these like 2 boxes right here. So what I'm going to be doing is, let me just expand this out so it's bigger for us to see. Our data now needs to populate this graph. There are many ways of visualizing things. For the simplicity's sake and to make this graph very easy to understand, what I'm going to be doing is putting on the x-axis the different rarities, sorting them by the amount of attack that they have. So we can see on average of everything, like 3-star rarities might have lesser amounts of total attack, but this is not very useful because this is the sum of attack. Maybe there's just simply more 4 stars, maybe there's simply less 5 than 4s. So I can easily just switch it up instead of sum of attack. Under the visualization section here, I'm going to change this over to average. And this is going to then show me a very simple line, a trend that we can see. Your 3 stars have generally lower average attack. Your 4 stars have higher average attack, and 5 stars have the highest average attack in the game, which for most gamers, you understand that 5 stars rare, probably much better. So that is the first thing that you can do with this. There are many other charts available, and I'll demonstrate to you like some ways you can switch across. So for example, I don't like columns maybe. Instead, I feel like it's maybe much more suitable to change to a line. You can do that as well. You can switch, as you can see, a very simple chart that has this line element. You can switch around as you fancy, which is the one that you prefer the most. You can even have, for example, combos. You can have stuff like this where you have it sorted out in this like reverse kind of pyramid structure. You can have it in a waterfall format or whatever it is. As you can see, as you click and move, you can find the optimal one depending on what type of data you're working with. But for me, for now, I just want a clustered column because I want to show you the next thing that we can do. So what is the next thing is I'm going to actually subdivide this category. And in this game, there are like different paths, which is like the type of weapons. Who is it for? Is it like a sword? Is it like a bow? Is it a spear and stuff like that? This is the same case, but what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to actually be splitting rarity into the different paths. So you can see like 3, 4, 5 and whatnot all have different like path icons here, and it's very messy right now. So I'm just going to like tweak it around so that I can exactly see what I'm looking for. Now it's sorting by the path, and if I click on these buttons, you can see here drill down. If I click the drill down button and click on one of these, I then am able to see like the nihility path, light cones, weapons for the 3, 4 and 5 star rarities. So it's a lot more data you can get, and if you can click on it, it helps you analyze the data a lot quicker since it's all of the average attack and whatnot has already been stored. Next thing I want to showcase is this button here, go to the next level in the hierarchy. If I click on this, instantly it takes me to like the next level hierarchy, which means it ignores by path, it goes to the second one. I don't really use this a lot because you could easily just like take the path out in total and then you pretty much, you will probably pretty much see the same thing. But what I like to use is expand all down one level in the hierarchy. What this is when you click it, you will start to see path as the first priority, and then you have your rarity as the second priority being arranged here. So your higher priority ones are first up, your lower priority ones are second. This is quite confusing, don't you think? Like it's pretty unintuitive to see because it's like all blue. What we can then do is, for example, add in filters and formatting to this chart. Let's start off first with formatting. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy, and you can do it as well, just Control-C. In this second section here, I'm going to be showing you how you can actually customize your chart to look something like this based on what we had previously. So I'm just going to go into the simple charts here, and I'm going to just copy this very simply and paste it on the bottom over here. Our objective is to get something like this in the top, and I'm going to be showing you how you can do that. It's very difficult to see now because everything's like 3, 4, 5, all in blue. Makes no sense. The charts are all over the place. The first thing I want to do is I want to add in data labels to show at least some numbers on the chart so it's easier to see. What I want to go is in this second section here, format your visuals. Go into data labels, you see this off button, click on, and immediately an auto populate will appear here. As you can see, like all the different data sources are all populating. So right now, you might not even like this like 2 decimal places because you find it very, very messy. If you want to customize as 0 decimal places, so you can find it here as well when you're customizing it, so you can get it to a 0 decimal place. So once that is done, you have your numbers nicely formatted. Of course, this example chart is not as nice as these numbers, but that's how you do that. Next up, of course, we want to change the colors. So how do you format the colors? And you want to come into the visual section here, into the columns. So data labels is for the numbers, columns is for the adjusting the columns, how you want it to be. So let's say I am going to apply a broad-based color change. I don't care what number it is. You can just like simply put it as gray and everything immediately will change. If we want to apply this color like traffic light kind of color, click on this button right beside called conditional formatting. We click on this, you can see this screen that pops up. This is where you key in your criteria. So first things first, I'm going to simply say rules. If it's 3, I want it red. If it's 4, I want it yellow. And if it's 5, I want it green. Like a very simple traffic light because green is like the best, 5 stars being like the best. So first things first, make sure that you have this sorted out to the fields that you want. Here it says average attack. So I'm going to just go here and click average because that's what we are actually observing in terms of the rarity of it. You can switch it out if you want. Let's say I want to switch to rarity, then you can have the average of rarity. So you get if it's 3 stars, 4 stars, or 5 stars, that's the number that you get. Make sure you change this to number. We don't want percentile. We are looking for an absolute number here for this demonstration. And each data is different. I'm just showing you what is used for here. Anything less than or greater than or less than equal to 3, that's the first one. I'll add in a second rule here. After I change this to red, second rule here, anything greater than or less than equal to 5, anything greater than 3. It always defaults as percent, so you have to be really careful with that. And I'm going to add in one last one, which is anything greater than or less than 5, but greater than 4. So 3, 4, 5 category respectively, more colors, customizing the color here. And now we have red, yellow, green in 3 different colors, and we're going to click OK. So now we see the first issue that might come up in one of the things that you're doing. Very good example of how troubleshooting can work. 3 is fine, 4 and 5 is the one that's iffy. We were going back in this conditional formatting chart here, and straight away I can see the error. It's because this is in percent. So if we switch it to number instead and click OK, now you can see that the chart is much better. That's why I mentioned be careful with whether it's percent or number. That's how we create this like traffic light kind of color chart as well in terms of formatting. A lot of other things you can do, but next I want to show you something that we can do, which is called filters. I'm going to go ahead and just copy the data here so it's easy for us to see. Now, there are many ways you can do filtering. I will show you my personal preference and then I will elaborate more on the other options. The first one that I like the most, I'm always a very visual person being a YouTuber and stuff. So if you have this visual here, what you can do is, let's say I am wanting to select based on maybe, I'm going to filter by rarity. So if I drag in this rarity here, or you can drag it into this fill section over here, I can then like remove the 3 stars and leave only the 4 and 5. So as you can see, the red bars were all gone. And if I remove that even more, I can just only see specifically the 5, and I can just like drag it back so all of them comes back. Very, very quick, easy to use, very user friendly. You can just drag it around. This thing can also be formatted and customized. Let's say I don't want this in a line here to like drag it across. I can go into the slicer settings here under visuals and click on this part here. I can have it as a drop down if I wanted to. So instead of a slider, now I can see 3, 4, 5. Great if you have anything that's like ordered alphabetically or numerically and you have quite a bit of a list. It's easy for people to like find the alphabets too. Otherwise, my personal favorite actually is this one here called the tile. So you click the tiles and as you can see, this thing formats to this like 3, 4, 5. You can very quickly like 3, 5, 4, you can see all of them. You control click and you can have a combination of anything that you want depending what you are planning to analyze as well. So very, very user friendly, very easy to use. And if any point of time, let's say you do not feel like analyzing attack, maybe you want to just switch it out. Power BI is very, very strong. You can just go back here into the data format. Let's say I no longer want attack. I want to switch it out. You can just cross it out And let's say I want defense now. You can sort by average defense similarly for what we're doing, and you get the exact same thing populated with all of your conditional formatting and whatnot saved. So super, super user friendly to use. And that is another way you can do like filtering and stuff. So that's another option. You can of course have them both together in the same one. So let's say I'm running this like that. You have an average of defense, average of attack now, and I'll show you the second thing that we want to do is like, how do you filter out? Let's say this is too messy, right? So many stuff going on. You can have this second section here, this filters. The difference between a filter that is on the page and the ones here is there's this thing that says filters on all pages, which means you can customize something here that removes completely everything on every single page that you have. Of course, if you forget to change it back, it might be a bit painful, but you can always see what filters are on by opening this like filter sub section here by just clicking this double arrow and removing it if you need. So it's a very similar fashion. You can see that there's a filters on these visuals, filters on this page. So let's say I just want to apply a page white filter, for example. I'm just going to be dragging, let's just say I want to have this over here. And let's say I only want to select, for example, this. I only want to see the light cones, the weapons with exactly 198 defense. I can easily see like what it is. And let's say I also wanted to know their names. I can go into here in data visualization under the field. I can add in the lower section here. I can immediately see which are the names of the light cones that are of the respective path and the respective rarities with exactly 198 defense and so on and so forth. So let me just back off real quick. And I'm going to remove this filter now because as you can see, it's still quite static. So I press this eraser, everything comes back, and I'm going to pull it out real quick. So that's another way you can do filters on a page level. You can also do it for a whole entire all pages or even just the visual itself. Another thing that I want to talk about is relations and connecting different charts together. So let me just copy this and I'm going to paste this here real quick. So over here we have attack percentage or attack, and we have this like name. Let's remove this so it's something similar. And let me say that let's say I have this one now. I copy the exact same chart. I'm going to remove attack and I'm going to put defense here so that we can analyze the defense charts as well. So let's say I have now one for attack, one for defense, and I'm going to copy another chart, one for HP, so that we have all three stats here. And let's take the average again. And now I want to bring this filter across, copy this, control copy, and I'm just going to don't sync. So now, if I click any of these, I think you can see all of them changing all at once, which is like super, super efficient. One can apply to all. But let's say I don't want it to apply to all. I just maybe want one thing to change. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to be showing you, let me just close this so it's nicely in the center for us. Now I'm going to show you a next thing, which is under formats, and what you're going to do is click edit interactions. When I click this edit interactions, the first thing you notice, follow where my mouse is hovering in the top right of every single chart. You will notice that something appears. There's this like filter or do not change anything. So let's say I just want to switch the chart defense with this filter. Because I'm clicking on this right now, the rules here are applied onto these three other ones, and I'm just going to click do not do anything, do not do anything. And I'm just going to uncheck this, and you can see that once it disappears, means it has been saved, your preferences have been saved. If I click 5 now, as you can see, only the defense chart changes, and that's how you like customize your different things. The possibilities are endless. You can do like so much stuff with it as well. There are so many other things that you can do, and unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time. Let me know in comments if you want to see anything else. But I think one very, very useful feature that I want to share with you guys is, of course, this Q&A button here. So let's just say I am too lazy to build charts. What you can simply do is total attack or total number of light cones. So let's say I am searching this prompt, light cone. It can immediately prompt out to me the amount of light cones that are helping me count. Saves me tons of time. If I have no idea how to do the customization, then you can just click on this beside, turns this Q&A result into a standard visual. You click on this, immediately now you have a chart. You can use it around. You can click on the Q&A button again to have another one, and etc. as well. That's how you can do it. Another way is you can just like double click, and immediately you will notice this one popping up. You can say name of light cone with highest attack. You make sure you're using the right words as well. It's a bit iffy, but if you can do it, you can straight away see the Litecoin with the highest attack is this one called Brighter Than the Sun. This one that you can see here, I can just like convert it over into a visual. So any of you who are like that, you can always do that. And if you guys found this video helpful, you might be interested in more content for Power BI and other money-making hobbies that you can find. It's all on this channel, EODMoney here. And if you guys want more of such content, leave me a comment below. This is just a super beginner's guide. I can always do a sequel if you guys are interested as well. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, and like and subscribe for more such future content. See you in the next video.